outbate everybody else in that lineup, it becomes much more difficult to stand out.
Well, he's going to New Hampshire this weekend, so we'll see if he shows us something a little different.
Let's get into the really worst part of my job, which is to talk about what happens if he does continue to sink. Andrea, who wins? Who picks up the McCain vote? Is it all go to Fred Thompson, his friend? Does it go to his fellow Maverick, Rudy Giuliani, or not exactly fellow Maverick, but a man who has some things in common with, Rudy Giuliani?
Well, Fred Thompson is still untested. He is unscrutinized, and he has managed to float above all of this, and he is clearly picking up the McCain support and the McCain sort of iconic image, and he was one of the earliest supporters of McCain, so that is likely where it goes. Look, it could open the way, eventually for somebody more independent, and you know who that is.
Who's that?
Well, Mike Bloomberg down the road.
Okay. Let's stay within the Republican pack here. Okay. Andrea, let me ask you this. We all support the troops. People on the political left who don't like this war go over and do USO shows because they want to help the troops out. They'll do what they can. John McCain appears to us almost in a flak jacket. We've seen pictures of him in the marketplace over there walking around in Baghdad, tough neighborhoods. A man probably the most identified with the physical reality of this horrible war. And yet he's been hurt the most, whereas guys like Rudy Giuliani, I've never seen him wearing fatigues. I've never seen Fred Thompson wearing fatigues, and certainly not Mitt Romney. He's always extremely well-dressed in some other kind of khaki, but they don't look like G.I. Joes. And there's this guy who always shows up with the troops getting murdered politically. How come the Republican Party, which is the hawkish party, is punishing the one big hawk in the race?
It's an extraordinary development, but part of it is when he did go over and walk through that marketplace, he tried to paint the picture too brightly, too optimistically, and then when you pull back and take a look at all the support and the flyovers and the armament around him, that undercut his basic message that things were improving on the ground. And things are improving on the ground, but John McCain was always describing the glass as half full, not half empty, and that is frankly not the conventional wisdom nor what people want to hear.
But I got to keep coming back to, among the traditional Republican primary voters, his position on the war is not what's hurting him. It's hurting him in other sectors of the race. I think immigration, I think his
maverick nature,
the loss of the maverick status, and the whole evangelical complicated mix that he's presented.
You're onto something there too, because the traditional Republican base has never trusted him since he went up against George W. Bush. Too much of a maverick in 2000, still not trusted in 2004 despite the hugs, and never really accepted by traditional Republicans.
Isn't it funny, Andrew? You and I have been watching this business for a long time, and the Republican Party, unlike the Democratic Party, is more organized, as we both know. They say, wait your turn. Well, here, this poor guy waited his turn.
Absolutely.
It's his turn, and he's getting the Bob Dole rollover. Anyway, thank you, Andrea Mitchell, and thank you, Craig Crawford. Up next, America Speaks. We'll hear what's on the minds of real voters out in Southern California, out in Burbank. And later, what's wrong with John McCain's campaign? We'll get back to that big question today because it's been a huge day for him, a bad day at BlackRock for John McCain. What's really going on? Why did he lose his two top staffers? Why is he having his purge? You're watching Hardball on MSNBC.
When it comes to relieving arthritis pain, you may think some prescription NSAID pain relievers like ibuprofen and naproxen don't have any cardiovascular risks. But based on the available research, that's not clear. And if you look closer, the FDA requires all these NSAID pain relievers, including Celebrex, to have the same cardiovascular warning. Any prescription NSAID, including Celebrex, may increase the chance of heart attack or stroke, which can lead to death. This chance increases if you have heart disease or risk factors for it, such as high blood pressure or when NSAIDs are taken for long periods. All NSAIDs, including Celebrex, also increase the chance of serious skin reactions or stomach and intestine problems, such as bleeding and ulcers, which can occur without warning and may cause death. With any of these medicines, patients also taking aspirin and the elderly are at increased risk for stomach bleeding and ulcers. While all NSAIDs have some of the same warnings, they all treat arthritis pain. But since individual results may vary, having options is important. An NSAID like Celebrex may be one option. In fact, prescription Celebrex has never been taken off the market. Based on the available data, the FDA stated that for certain patients, Celebrex's benefits outweigh the risks. But only you and your doctor can make that decision. Let's dive deeper. In clinical studies, a lower percentage of patients on Celebrex reported indigestion, abdominal pain, and nausea versus prescription ibuprofen and naproxen. Celebrex can be used with low-dose aspirin. Other prescription NSAIDs aren't generally recommended with aspirin. Celebrex relieves arthritis pain, stiffness, and inflammation. Just one 200 milligram dose provides 24-hour relief. Do not take Celebrex if you're pregnant or have had allergic reactions to aspirin or sulfonamides. And tell your doctor if you've had kidney or liver problems. For many with arthritis pain, not treating is not an option. Talk to your doctor about Celebrex and see what's right for you. Understand the risks, see the benefits.
Chris Benoit's final days revealed chilling new details about what really happened inside the wrestling star's mansion. MSNBC Live with Dan Abrams, tonight at 9.
Tonight on MSNBC's Doc Block. To survive this no man's land, some ladies become real partners in crime.
I love you!
Lock up North Carolina women's prison. And what marks these artists? Their body of work. Tattoos skin deep. Tonight on MSNBC's Doc Block beginning at 10.
Okay, we're back with Hardball. Let's check the pulse of the American people out there on this Super Tuesday on MSNBC. Let's go to NBC's Michael Oku, who's been speaking with real people, not that we're not real people, at Universal Studios out in Burbank. Michael, take it away.
Well, Chris, as you know, about 2/3 of the American public thinks the country is moving in the wrong direction. They disapprove of the job President Bush is doing, and they disapprove of the job that the Democratic Congress is doing. The big issues on their minds at this point: immigration, health care, and, of course, the war in Iraq. Without question, the war in Iraq. All of that has been reflected here today with the people that we've been talking to. I'm joined now by Tom Sawyer. You come from Georgia.
Yes, sir.
What's the big issue for you?
Well, Iraq is a large issue for me. Number one, they say it's a failed state. I never give fail on my troops, I've been with this war since it started. And another issue to me is it's about what that last poll last week or yesterday was about 15 million or 15 billion a month, excuse me. 15 billion a month, I know a lot of money, that's a lot of money. I'd like to be spent in other places. And if it is going to be spent in Iraq, I want to see progress, I want to see.
Do you want to stay in Iraq, or do you want us to pull out of Iraq?
We're going to have to stay in Iraq. I feel like if we pull out, it could create a black hole in that region. We have a very unstable neighbors. I'm really worried about Iran. I don't know if we're going to have to do some kind of strike. They have stuff,
Tom, is there one particular presidential candidate right now that you are edging towards?
John McCain.
Because of his view on Iraq?
He's a war veteran. He understands the realities of war, and I think he'll get the job done, baby.
Tom, thanks. Tess Hoff has joined us as well, Chris. Tess, what is your big issue? When you look at the political landscape, the issues that come to mind are what for you?
Two issues that I feel very strongly about are the war in Iraq and health care.
In terms of the war in Iraq, in a nutshell, stay or go?
Go. We shouldn't have gone there in the first place, and we're wasting money and time and people and lives, and I think it's a disaster.
You mentioned healthcare. Other people here today have mentioned healthcare as well. It's coming in a close second after the war in Iraq, at least based on my very unscientific poll here. What specifically about healthcare are you concerned about?
Our healthcare system is entirely broken. Our insurance, people without insurance, our medical system. I think that we need to completely revamp the medical system. My big cause is women's health care. I've been involved in that for years. And there are a lot of holes there, and we don't have enough time to go into what I feel about that. But
a lot of candidates out there. In a nutshell, is there one candidate that's speaking?
Barack Obama is totally all the way. I'm 100% behind him.
Thank you very much, Tess. And Tom Sawyer here. Chris, as you hear, two completely diverse views on this. This is what we've been finding all day. And I should add one thing. Most of the people, the vast majority of people we've spoken to, and again, I want to stress, this is not a scientific poll, really want us to pull out of Iraq, and sooner than later. They just don't know who to trust to get us out of Iraq in a timely manner without doing any damage to the security of the United States. Chris?
Well, that is the conundrum facing our country. How do you end a terrible war without making things worse. Anyway, thank you, Michael Oku out at Universal Studios. Good advertising, by the way, for Universal Studios, which is part of the GE family. Up next, our hardball debate. Has Iraq become an albatross for the Republican Party? Is it killing the party's chances in this presidential election? You're watching Hardball, only on MSNBC.
That dress makes you feel 10 years younger. Do your glasses? With LensCrafters 30-day unconditional guarantee, you can change your glasses until they make you feel invincible. Kind of like that little black dress. LensCrafters, open your eyes.
I just saved 30% on a great hotel, even at the last minute. Hold the phone. Mama's going to paradise.
Save up to 30% on your hotel when you book a last-minute vacation to select summer destinations. Book at Orbitz.com and stay a step ahead.
Try them. They're different Post-it Super Sticky Notes. Go to Post-it.com for all the latest designs and special offers.
I hear you're still looking for me.
Born?
On August 3rd.
Why did you come here, Jason?
Someone made me what I am. And I'm gonna find him.
Bourne comes home.
He has our entire playbook. Names, dates, ghost sites.
What makes you think he's gonna put it together?
It's Jason Bourne. He already has.
Eliminate the threat.
The Bourne Ultimatum.
I remember everything.
There's a new Pulse that can give you a dentist clean feeling. New Pulsar Pro Health from the experts at Oral-B. Soft micropulse bristles pivot and pulse to clean deep between teeth, giving you a dentist clean feeling. Pulsar Pro Health from Oral-B.
It's time to graduate from thankless coffee runs. It's time to bring back Boston Market. For a limited time, get a half chicken carver combo every day of the week for just $4.99. Boston Market. Meal accomplished.
And one. Feel the burn. Catch that turkey. Microwave it.
Stay fit with on-demand exercise lessons. Tune to Channel 1. For tons of on-demand shows just for kids, tune to Channel 1.
Spotlight is currently looking for bright media professionals, whether recent college graduates or seasoned sales professionals. We're a premier company in the cable industry with a wealth of career opportunities in cable television advertising sales. Be empowered to reach your potential with us as an account executive and see why cable television is an unbeatable opportunity. Become an account executive and talk to local business owners about the advantages of advertising on local TV. Comcast offers competitive wages and benefits as well as a positive and rewarding work atmosphere. Apply today at Comcast.com.
Hardball with Chris Matthews at MSNBC.com. Hard-hitting, straightforward. Watch highlights of the top players in the game play hardball anytime at MSNBC.com.
I'm JJ Ramberg, and here's what's happening. The head of Homeland Security concerned about a terrorist attack on U.S. soil this summer. Homeland Security Secretary Michael Chertoff says he has a gut feeling that the U.S. faces a higher risk of attack sometime this summer. Chertoff says he has no evidence of a specific threat, but summertime seems to appeal to al-Qaeda. He says he's concerned the group is, quote, rebuilding their activities. Powerful storms are slamming the Northeast. In Albany, New York, power was knocked out for 37,000 people. Many are not expected to have electricity restored until tomorrow. Severe weather is also creating airline delays of up to 3 hours in the Northeast. And out west, the worst fire in Utah state history is only 10% contained. One concern now is smoke moving closer to highways and threatening visibility. There are also air quality alerts in several heavily populated areas. A power plant is coming back online after being evacuated on Friday. Now, back to Hardball.
Welcome back to Hardball. Senator John McCain's bid for the White House took another body blow today, as we said. Not only is his campaign short of money, this morning he lost his 2 top senior advisors. In fact, it looked like they were forced out. But is McCain's support of the war in Iraq the real problem? Is Iraq the Republicans' death knell in this campaign? You're laughing, aren't you? Here are the Hardball debates between Karen Finney with the Democratic National Committee. She's the spokesperson for it. And Republican strategist Todd Harris, who laughs at the very idea that this horrible war, this conflict in Iraq is killing your party's chances. Therefore, you get the start.
I laugh, Chris, because we have to remind ourselves this is July of 2007. The election is in November of 2008. Let's go back and set historic precedent here. At this point in the campaign,
so the war's going to be over by next summer?
At this point in the campaign, in 1999, we'd be talking about Elizabeth Dole's campaign. We'd be talking about Dan Quayle.
Let me ask you this question.
It's far too early to be writing anybody off.
Let's start with today's news. Has this war support by the gutsy John McCain cost him in this election?
Not so gutsy, actually. Yeah, of course it has. Absolutely. And it is a sign for the other Republican 08 contenders, and frankly for the Republican members of Congress who are going to face a vote later this week, that they are going to be in the wrong...
You're targeting these people, aren't you? You're targeting Sununu up in New Hampshire.
Absolutely.
You're targeting Snow up in Maine and Norman Coleman. You're nailing anybody from a moderate state, aren't you?
That's exactly right, because you know what? The American people, the Iraq Study Group, even some of the military generals have said, we recognize the surge is not working. And the Iraq war, you're right. We could talk about what's going to happen a year from now or what happened a year before.
We don't need to talk about a year from now. Let's talk about what's going to happen in September. We're going to get a report back from David Petraeus. It's going to say one of two things. It's going to say either it's working or it's not working. And if it's working, then Republicans get some breathing room. If it's not working, then the forces of the political market are going to take over.
Todd, do you think the American people will buy that report if it's sanguine, if it's an upbeat report? Do you think they'll believe that this war is going? Do you think they'll believe it?
No, the report cannot be 100% rah-rah.
It's even relatively positive, will they buy it?
Yeah, I think that the American people will buy that there have been. Look, you put more troops in, things get more secure. People generally understand that. I don't think that they're going to buy a bunch of cheerleading, but I also don't think that that's what the report is going to show.
No, but let's look at what today's news said. Today's news said that Bush was going to change his rhetoric on the war in Iraq. This is not a rhetoric problem. 600 Americans. The Washington Post says that they're going to change their rhetoric on Iraq.
Guess
what the Washington Post writes.
They're not changing their strategy. All he's doing is
George
changing
Bush
his
is
rhetoric.
not running for re-election. You've got a whole new crop of Republicans, and what they're going to show, what Republican candidates running for office in 08 need to show is that they're listening to the American people. They need to show...
They've already shown that they're not, because they all support the surge. They all support the president on Iraq, and it's going to cost them just like it's costing John McCain.
You know what? Every Republican running can happily and proudly stand up and say they're going to give David Petraeus the time and the support that he was promised to try to make things work in Iraq.
The question on the table is the Republican Party getting killed by the war in Iraq? You disagree?
Look, I think if the election were held today, yeah, I think we'd have a lot of problems. But like I said, the election is not until November of 2008. That's why polling today doesn't matter. That's why all of the horse race figures today. Of course the loss of life matters. Of course it matters. And what Republicans running in 2008 are going to be talking about is a way to make sure that Iraq is secure, to make sure that we don't have a continued loss of life in Iraq, and to make sure that the people who have already died have not done so in vain.
Does this hurt your party that Colin Powell came out yesterday in Aspen and said that I tried to stop this war, I was against it?
Look, I think that the more...
Does that hurt your party?
Yes. The more that the debate in 2008 focuses on what happened, it's going to be a problem for us. The more that our candidates can show, the more that our...
Todd, I'm sorry, you're doing great here, but I'm going to interrupt. Todd Harris, I want to ask you a question.
Yeah.
For the record book, because we do keep these videotapes. Was it a mistake to take the American army into Arabia, the whole army, and put it in Arabia like we did? Was that his mistake?
I'm not only am I not a mistake. Look, I run campaigns for a living. Lord knows I'm not qualified to answer that question. Are you kidding me?
Was it a mistake to take the American army into Arabia?
I think it's a mistake for any Republican to support President Bush on the surge and on Iraq.
I'm asking you an objective question. Was it on behalf of the Democratic Party? You speak for it. Was it a mistake to take the American army into Arabia, into Iraq? Was that a mistake?
I think we know it was a mistake.
Okay. But it's not going to hurt your party.
Look, like I said, if the election were held tomorrow, we'd have some serious problems.
Honest man. It's much harder to be honest on this show, and you're proving it. You're an honest man. Thank you very much, Karen Finney. You're a great debater, and Todd, you're an honest man. Up next, our Hardball Roundtable on McCain's We're calling them the cast-offs, the purgees, the top flank. It's like the Kremlin wall. New faces, old faces gone. So what's happening in the fight with Iraq politically? This is Hardball, only on MSNBC.
Wouldn't you know it? One moment we're on the road to romance, when suddenly it gets interrupted. That's why for guys like me with ED, there's Cialis. Cialis is the only erectile dysfunction tablet clinically proven to both go to work fast in as little as 30 minutes for some men and work up to 36 hours. The fact that Cialis can work fast is great, but having up to 36 hours gives me the option of being ready once the moment is finally right.
Tell your doctor about your medical conditions and all medications and ask if you're healthy enough for sexual activity. Don't take Cialis if you take nitrates for chest pain, as this may cause an unsafe drop in blood pressure. Don't drink alcohol in excess with Cialis. Side effects may include headache, upset stomach, delayed backache, or muscle ache. To avoid long-term injury, seek immediate medical help if you experience priapism, an erection lasting more than 4 hours. If you have any sudden decrease in vision, stop taking Cialis and call your doctor right away.
Why ask your doctor about Cialis? Because even after an interruption, you can still be ready.
When the moment is right, you can be ready with Cialis.
Coming up, what's John McCain's problem? Is it Iraq, immigration, or age? Hardball returns after this.
Slow-grilled wild salmon with crisp garden greens simmered in a fragrant reduction. Inspiration for fancy feast, elegant medleys. The restaurant-inspired food for cats. Delight her with wild salmon Florentine in a delicate sauce with garden greens. One of many artfully prepared dishes. Fancy Feast Elegant Medleys. Is it love or is it Fancy Feast?
People are smart. And when it comes to home loans, they don't like smoke and mirrors. Well, unless they're a magician or an illusionist, which is just a fancy word for magician. What they do like is getting what they're promised, like our Smart Rate. It's a 30-year fixed mortgage with a rate around 6 1/8%. To find out more, call us at 1-800-DITEC-1 and let us help you get the loan you need without being sawed in half. DITEC. People are smart.
Nothing says summer like music and s'mores. Look for specially marked Hershey bars for a chance to join Brad Paisley on the road.
FedEx employee Rebecca Velasquez was about to leave work when she discovered a rainstorm had caused Peter McCallum's FedEx truck to get stuck. So instead of going home after her shift, Rebecca knew she had to do something to help out. She went out into the rain and hailed a taxi. Rebecca located Peter. They filled the cab with packages, and she made it back to the sorting facility just in time. Hear more stories from around the world at FedExStories.com.
Want to know what's really going on in Washington? You only need to know 3 little words.
Let's play Hardball.
The political show of record.
Is John today, just as the campaign
no one can be stability.
Well, I star to end of the 2004 campaign, and I think that John McCain, though I have immense amount of respect for his service, wants to be president too bad, and he's going to pay a price for making the wrong decision. He, like so many members of Congress, especially members of the Republican Party, have dealt with this issue about the war as politicians instead